All right, welcome back. We're going to welcome back second time on Coach Nate Albaugh, who is now head coach at Heyworth High School in Heyworth, Illinois, which I did not know that was a place. That's how
Yeah. Believe it. That's a place. That's the best way to get a job. If you hear of an opening at a place no one's heard of, your odds of getting that job go up.
I'm going to keep that in mind when I look for it. Because there's small schools up here. I'm sure I could figure it out.
There are, man. My first head job ever I got at a school, and I had to look it up on a map before I told my wife. I said, and I held up the computer, and I said, "What about here?" She said, "You can interview." That was Milford.
Oh, hey, you turned that place around.
Well, we got lucky. We had a lot of good athletes right when I got there, and it turns out that helps you win games.
Again, I'll never forget the 1-point victory over us. I still hold that to heart.
Boy, I'll tell you what, we needed that too. Was that the one in the rain?
Yes, that was the one in the rain. And I think you had a tackle or a nose tackle that was taller than me. I was 6'5", and you had some guy taller than me. And we just went at it the whole game. I'll never forget that.
We had our one big guy. I feel like you guys had about 4 or 5 of them, though.
Yeah, maybe. D-line wise. I think I was the biggest offensive lineman, the D-line. We had stocky, like corn. Like I like to say I'm from the corn. Those guys were from the cornfield. Like baling hay, just tossing it up and all that. I always have to bring up that Milford game because it's still – because we lost to Arthur that year by 1 point. We lost to Bismarck by 1 point, and then lost to you guys by 1 point. It was – and we were down to Bismarck. We were down 14 points with 3 minutes left and came back and lost by 1 point still. Because, like I said, we beat Milford by like 40 the year before. So part of the team was like, we're just going to walk in there and blah, blah. And then the rain came down and you guys were playing well. We weren't playing well. And I was like, yep, this is – then we went to – that was my first overtime game ever.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was my first one I had ever coached in. And now every overtime game, I think overtime is just a thrill in itself. Like when you get to an overtime game, you have to just sit back and enjoy it because it really is a unique, extreme high pressure situation in your life that you really can only get through coaching. You know, I mean, it's a really unique experience. You just got to enjoy it, man. I've lost some overtime games and won some, and I try hard to enjoy it because it is a unique pressure on you that I don't know. I always say is earned. Like you had to earn that spot under the pressure. It wasn't just given to you.
Especially in Illinois when you start at the 10-yard line. So it's kind of like that's really high pressure.
Yes, best way to do it.
That was my first one. Then I had one as an OC at Charleston. Was my second one. We were actually up by like 14. They came back and tied it. We go to overtime. We stop them. And I'm sitting there as the OC, like, that's pressure. Like, being an OC, pressure. I'm young. I'm like, here we go. I call 2 run plays, and we get in. I was like, done. My fullback was 235 pounds. We ran the eye, and I was like, screw it. Gave it to him. Next play. Steve, what are you going to call? Exact same play. And just go. And
best idea. Best idea in overtime. If you got a horse, let him carry it.
Yeah, his dad was a D-line coach at Eastern. He was a whole bodybuilder, so he was exactly the same way. I said, I'm going to see how this works. First play, he got like 6 yards. I said, all right, again.
Yeah.
Go.
Easy decision.
Coming out of the mouth of the spread guy. We gave it to our fullback to run into the end zone.
I didn't know spread guys had fullbacks.
Well, back then. Back then, we were I team.
Okay, yeah.
I can go in I formation, and I could have gone spread, either one.
Yeah.
So that I always remember, like, I used to run a fullback. Now I call them H-backs. Now I've flip-flopped, and I do H-backs or sniffers.
Yes.
But yeah, I haven't talked to you in a long time. I think you were at Unity the last time I talked to you. So did you already have a season under your belt at Heyworth, or is this your first year?
Last year, I took this job at Heyworth in like July 25th.
Okay.
So it was very, very late, but it was an incredible job. Somebody left this job last second, and I wasn't even really qualified for it because I was athletic director. But I knew they were in need, and so I thought, I'm just going to interview. Anyway, everything went really well. They offered me a killer job as an athletic director and a football coach, and I took it. there's my little one. And the rest is history. Now, a program that has struggled for a long time. We only had 17 kids in the program a year ago, 9 through 12. Yeah. So it's a tough job, but it's a great job. You know, I've just really enjoyed it. So anyway, I took it, and my son was in his senior year at Unity. Mm-hmm. So that was hard for me to leave, but I knew this was the type of job I wanted to. It's good for the second half of my career. I can retire here. The timing's off by 1 year. So anyway, I missed all 9 of my son's regular season games. And then the playoffs started, and I was at everything in the playoffs, and his team went on to play in the state championship game. So I was able to watch them play 5 times, and it was a blast.
Yeah, some coaches sacrifice that, but I mean, you got to see him play, which is still cool. And you being he's a coach or son of a coach, so he understands. And so, but
he encouraged me too. He did. He said, "Dad, this is what you do as a coach." He's like, "You got to take it."
Right.
And he's like, "I know where we stand," you know, and he's a good kid, and he encouraged me to take it. And I'm glad that I did. It was tough to miss those games, but now it all seems like ancient history. You know, he's moving on to college, and I'm in a place I love, and I got to see the kid play in 5 games and into the playoffs and into the state championship game. So it's all history now, but yeah, I ended up in a really good gig and trying to learn as an athletic director. And it's interesting just because there's a lot that I'd like to do as a football coach that I kind of almost putting the brakes on myself, because I really want to try to build kind of a full, or help build. I want to be part of building a complete athletic culture at a school. Mm-hmm. And there's a couple things I've had to slow myself down for football wise to make sure it's good for the whole school, you know? So it's a totally different perspective, but it's good for me. And I think a lot of my life experiences have led to this, to go, hey, this is good. It's different. It's different, right? It's not like football is all life. Which I think honestly is good for me to realize that football is just a smaller piece of a big machine. Right. And so I'm trying to approach things much differently than I used to. And it's been very good. I'm very thankful. So I'm thankful to be in the spot I'm in. My competitive juices still take over, right? At times, right, where I'm just like, oh, I just want to win right now. Right. We want to be dominant right now. But at the end of the day, when you're trying to sleep at night, it's like, all right, this is good. This is good. We're doing a good thing. We're pouring into a community. And ultimately, right, that's what it's all about.
Right. Yeah, I didn't know you're athletic director too. That's even more on your plate.
Yeah. It's been great, though. It's been great. It's a cool way to approach. I actually just picked up this book. I went to the Illinois Athletic Directors Conference, picked up this book called Selling the Passion. I was just reading this here before we hopped on. It's just good, you know, like high school athletics bring a ton of people into a community. And it's important to just be capitalizing on that marketing wise. And if you like put together a good, clear plan for it, you could really maximize the amount of dollars that your athletic program can bring in. And the reality is that your athletic programs in your school, honestly, they can influence an entire community. Right? I mean, you've watched it happen. We've watched it happen. All sports fans, football coaches have watched that. When let's say a football team gets it rolling, has 5 straight years of incredible success, that is more than just affecting the 40 kids on the football team. That affects the entire culture of the entire community. It'll affect house prices. So This is real, man. So it's real. So the dollars should be real too, you know? So it's been, it's a cool new way to approach things. You know, I was an art teacher before I was an athletic director, and I enjoy art, but I wasn't excited about it. You know, this is a little bit more exciting, a little bit more engaging, and it's a cool next step in my career as an educator. So I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was going to say, being athletic director down there is way different than when I see ones up here, because there's 2 in high schools. You got 2 of them. which helps, but like we have so much more sports than what that's tough on you. I'm not saying that, but like up here, I'm used to down there, you know, like Oakwood and this, that you have one and you don't have all you have the main sports and build that community up. Then you're up here and you have to deal with kids moving to the high school right down the road. You've got to deal with this sports, and this sport. Then on top of it, this sport. So that's a lot to deal with as an athletic director. But that's cool you're doing that because it gives you an whole aspect of all sports, like an appreciation for all of them and what it brings, and not just football. That's awesome. You seem to be drawn to programs that have to be rebuilt a little bit. I've noticed it. Milford, yeah. Champaign, Judah Christian there for a short stint. Now to Heyworth. Not saying it has to be totally rebuilt, but like you seem to be drawn to like you're going to rebuild something.
Yeah, my old man laughs at me, and it just is what it is. For whatever reason, I'm going to look for a job. I love to go places that have never been able to do it, that have just struggled. And a lot of it is just because I have this feeling of, I like going somewhere. I probably like the feeling of being needed. Mm-hmm. You know, the world of high school athletics is the haves and the have-nots. Mm-hmm. You look at my time when my kids went over to Tolono Unity. It was kind of a hiatus in my coaching career. I went over to help out. The head coach allowed me to be on staff as a volunteer, and I helped out. You know, and I was one of, no lie, 8 highly qualified coaches. And I enjoyed it because I enjoyed being around my son, and I enjoyed learning from a Hall of Fame coach they're very successful. There's so much I enjoyed about that, but it paled in comparison as far as like personal experience from the feeling of being where I am, being at Milford, being at Champaign Central, where they were starved for coaches that loved it. Right. And to kind of be one of those guys in an atmosphere where it's not common to have people around that love it, that are poured into it, you know, just personally, I love that feeling of being somewhere that I know without me maybe doesn't have somebody really pouring into them. So right. I think ultimately it's probably a really selfish thing, because I really just am like seeking that good feel, warm feeling of, I know I'm pouring into some kids that haven't had that. So it's probably ultimately really selfish, but you're right. I have always loved taking 4 new jobs now. And between the 4, I think they won a total of 2 games the year before I got there.
Wow.
Maybe 3. Maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe there's 3.
Maybe there's 3.
Yeah, maybe 3 wins.
But I mean, you can call it selfish if you want, but it's also motivational too. So like you're if it motivates you to do that, and that's what it feels like, and you're doing the right thing, who really cares if you're doing the right thing and it motivates you? I mean, you can call it selfish if you want, but it's like, you know what? I'm motivated. Let's go. You're building it up, putting your fingerprints on it. I mean, I tell people we coach for the kids, but we also coach selfishly for ourselves because we enjoy it. Like if I didn't enjoy coaching, even baseball, like I had a blast, but if I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't go back. I'd be like, nope, I love the kids. I love being around those baseball coaches, but if I didn't like it, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
And for money, you know, money was part of it. We all have to live, but I'm not going to coach football and do all this time if I don't enjoy it. I have to be motivated. I have to go. So, I mean, if that's selfish, I mean, that might be selfish. Like, yeah, I'm coaching because I enjoy X's and O's. I coach because I love football and I enjoy the kids. But if I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't go. I would find a different way to impact, but I wouldn't do that. So, but with you taking over so many things, I've talked to these college, like this morning, I for some reason, I'm on a big culture kick this July for some reason. I don't know why. I'm just on a big, because our football program, we're trying to rebuild it. Like one successful thing we have going for us, we have 30 freshmen out, I think, right now signed up, which is awesome. Yes. It's more than what they've had, but we're going to have 4 seniors, which is a struggle. And so we're all figuring out how do we get kids out. So I'm big on a culture kick. You've been on different things. So you took over this. I am starting to call it, you're putting your culture in. You're not rebuilding it. You're just putting yours in. So you took over what was, you know, you've had experience. what was some of the first things you said, this is what we're going to do first before X's and O's? Like you got it late though too. So you have to do X's and O's, but how do we start putting my fingerprints on this of culture to get kids out? Cause you talked about the problems, keeping them, having fun and all that. What would be like your first thing you were going to do when you got there?
So I think that, and something I've talked to a lot of coaches about is honestly, and this goes for all things in life, not just coaching, but you get good at what you emphasize, right? That's whatever is important to you and that you emphasize and talk about the most regularly. Those are the things, generally speaking, you'll get good at. Mm-hmm. Right. And so I think it's important when you take over a new job, at least I think personally, that it's important to not make it sound like some sort of big change is needed.
Right.
Because I feel like it's kind of insulting to the guy that worked before you. I think the odds are that the guy before you did a ton of good things. So just be careful about your language and say, hey, what's important to us? Mm-hmm. So when I took over the program, again, being 17 kids, grades 9 through 12, what's going to be important to us? Well, after watching film of the previous year, there's a lot of turnovers, a lot of bad snaps, a lot of broken plays. And so the priorities just became, number one, we have to grow in numbers. Mm-hmm. So from 17, we have to go up. We have to. Now, how do you do that, right? So I kind of thought in terms of basic sales. Like, all right, if you're not selling enough product, you have to do two things. You have to market your product better. Or number two, you might need to lower the price. Mm-hmm. So I had to consider lowering the price, which is like less is being asked of you, right? So I've always been a proponent of practicing on Saturdays, but I stopped only for the reason of I have to lower the price. I've always been a proponent of practicing long on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, but I shortened it only for the purpose of lowering the price. I shortened Mondays. I shortened Thursdays. I hate shortening it, but I'm at a school with 17 kids on the team. Like, I have to sell this product. I have to lower the price. So that's that was kind of like priority number one. And then priority number two is what are some things that are important to us, like on the field? And it really just came down to two things. Number one is effort overall. Like, we're going to value effort, right? So that the get off, finishing things, right? So if you were to watch our practice, it would be a lot of, we value full sprints, right? And anytime it's not anything is not full, complete effort, right? You'll see a coach give you one of these, which is really in wrestling, the 2 takedown signal. But in our program means, hey, you owe us 2 up downs. It's just like a small little piece of accountability. Right. It says, hey, we're sticklers about this. You owe 2, right? So the other thing we do offensively is we're like, listen, we have to protect the ball. Like, we can't turn it over. We can't have bad snaps. So that ball, we carry it 1 inch from our chin. We don't care how much it's going to slow us down. And if you don't do it in practice, anytime you get caught without that ball 1 inch from your chin, this 2, right? So that's just kind of consistent. And, we still only won 1 game last year, but there were fewer games where we were getting beat by 40 than the year before. And I think, it's like, you can't just go from bad to good. Sometimes when you're really bad, you got about like 7 or 8 layers of bad to get through. So I feel like we progressed through layers of bad, and we're getting a lot closer to being an average football team. And while it is hard sometimes to tell yourself that, because you just look and you're like, we only won 1 game, we suck, right? It's hard. You want to be hard on yourself. I think it's important to see what you've done. It's like, no, we're getting really close to being an average football team. And there's a lot to be said for that, because it's hard work to go from really bad to average. That was really hard work. We worked our tails off to get to where we are, which is coming up on being an average team. And I think that you got to be able to say those things with confidence and know 100% that what you've accomplished and becoming and getting close to being an average team is commendable. And that's where we are, man. We protect the football. We play really, really hard. We milk the clock like nobody's business, man. I mean, we do not snap that ball until it's like 5 seconds to go in the play clock. We're trying to slow this game down because we have almost nobody to put out there. Right. So we want the game to be over at halftime, but man, we're trying to save a program. Right. So those are our priorities right now. And then beyond that, man, it's like, so for us is we never draw a line in the sand. with kids is like, we're just going to pour love on them and keep inviting them back. Keep inviting them back. I always tell my guys, I'm like, I got a really pretty wife. And it's only because I was willing to ask really pretty girls to go out with me. And I got told no a lot. But eventually one pretty girl said yes. Right. And so I tell the kids that all the time in the hallway. They're always telling me, oh, so-and-so is not going to play. So-and-so's not going to play. I'm like, yeah, I get it. That's what they always say. Keep asking, keep inviting, keep offering rides. I keep inviting. So that's it, man. It's like this just constant, never ending pouring. I think I tweeted something about that about a year ago, or when I first got the job. Like, I really think coaching is like pouring into a cup can't ever fill up. And you just keep doing it. You just keep doing it. It's like, when you really look at it, it makes no sense logically.
That's true.
To be good at it, you just keep pouring into this cup that can't fill. Yeah.
Yeah. We're going through something similar. Like, we have minibuses. And so guess what? When kids say they don't have rides, we go, hold on. We get on the minibus, we go pick them up. We literally drive out to pick them up and bring them here. Now you don't have an excuse, but like, we keep talking to them. We keep asking them. We keep whatever. And we're trying to do the same. But now we got some. I mean, I want to say 60 or 70 total right now, which School of 2000 doesn't sound good. But for us, it was like, it's getting there. It was better than last year.
Yeah. But
now we got to keep them. That's been the key. Like, we have a kid already. That's too hot. Okay. But we're not like freaking out on them. We're just like, well, how can we help you? Like, do you want me to dump cold water on you? Like, I don't know what to do. Like, how do we keep you here? And then, like, I don't know if I talked to you about our season last year. It was the toughest season I've been a part of injury-wise. First game, we had 4 kids get knocked out. Quarterback got his jaw broken second quarter. We played 5 quarterbacks. And 2 of those are wide receivers. Like, you don't have that many quarterbacks. 2 of them are wide receivers. So it was just so tough. And like, then we almost drew a line in the sand of, we're not going to play sophomores on varsity. Like, that's the point we got to. We were like, we can't do it. Then we looked at it and I said, but we got 4 seniors this year. We're going to have to play sophomores.
Yeah.
So that's my little rant, but like, that's where we're at. That's why I'm a big culture. I don't even know if culture is even the right word of like keeping kids and doing this, but like, one cool thing we got to do was last week, go to a 7-on-7 lineman tournament that the Bears run. And we did it at Fenton High School. So Chicago Bears run it. So there's lineman challenges. There's 7-on-7. That's an incentive for next year because we're going to do it again. We might host Lance Brake's kid camp next year at our high school. That's an incentive. So we're trying to find incentives because kids need incentives. We're trying to have like competition Wednesday so they earn points to do stuff. Give them T-shirts. We have Gatorade protein bars now, which is huge. You should see after weightlifting the amount of the long line. They're like, where's our protein bars? Like, that's an incentive. They show up.
Yeah.
And some coaches think that's not a good thing, but like, incentive is what we're at now. Like, maybe when we all played, we just showed up. We're just like, yeah, we'll show up. Not anymore. They have to have a reason. And I don't know if that means we're soft, but that's just kind of where we're going with it. Like you said, you're changing your thing. And some people say, well, that's soft. Like, you don't change. No, you have to cater to what the kids do nowadays. If that makes sense. Like, what they do, we have to cater to a little bit. We can't always do what we did. Like, last summer, we were practicing at 8 a.m. This year, it's 9 a.m. We compromised. They said it was too early. Hey, we'll go at 9 then. But now, guess what they're complaining about? We're done at 12. Well, it's lunchtime, coach. We're like, well, now we're like, well.
One thing that I learned from being at Unity was this consistency in your program. And he's been there for 25 years. They just 2 years ago, they had their playoff streak broken. It was at like 23 years in a row and just got broken. It was a very short-lived downtime for them as they just played in the state championship game last year, so an incredible program, one of the best smaller schools programs in Illinois. And that's one thing I learned there was the amount of consistency from the summer plan, the summer program. It was literally just every year, the same. And that word same could almost be applied to everything from where coaches sit at special events to the way we practice to the songs that play pregame and postgame. Literally, you take that word same and it applies to almost everything in their program. And I learned that at Unity. And I think that kind of has been a mantra for me taken into this new program was I have to create some things that become same, that the kids know, they know what to expect, right? That's one of the powers and one of the great things about football is that you get a predictable week out of it. You got a game on Friday, you know what Monday looks like, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And for a lot of kids, that, you know, that predictability in their life is welcomed.
Yeah.
And so I think that they did same better than any program I've ever seen. And I mean, all the way down to same position, right? It's like, if you were a stud outside linebacker as a junior and you hit some big growth spurt and you clearly look like you should be playing Mike linebacker at their program, you're not moving. It's same. You're staying here because this is where you are. And if you ask their head coach, again, Hall of Fame coach, how are you not going to move him in? He said, listen, we're going to be great here this year. It just is where it is. But it is, right? We're going to have a younger kid here at Mike that you would say technically should always be your best. Well, for us this year, this is our best. He's our best kid. He plays this position. It's what he does because we believe in same. I learned that there. And I think that I felt like when I first got there, it didn't make sense to me. But by the time I left 2 years later, I thought, how do you doubt this? How do you dispute this? Right? Just based on results, how do I dispute this? Because that's the one recurring theme I'm seeing in this program. There's nothing special schematically, offensively, or defensively, nothing. Honestly, I think if you looked at them all schematically, you'd go, that's it. You know, I mean, it's sound, 100% sound, very sound, coach it really well, nothing special. But they just continue to win. They go like 9-0 every year. So how are they doing it? And that's what I keep thinking. It's same. So it's like, what are we going to create that's same for our kids? And they know what to expect. And then over time, your core, you start with a core and it grows. And that's what I'm noticing the difference between these programs, right? The difference between Heyworth, Illinois and Unity, Illinois. Let's say you're not from Illinois. You've never heard of any of those schools. The difference between Heyworth, which hasn't won 10 games in 40 years, and Unity, who wins 10 games almost every year, right? What's the difference? Well, it's the number of kids in their core, because ultimately the kids are the same at both. And you both got kids that absolutely love it and are poured in. But my poured in, bought in core, it's at about 7 right now, right? The poured in, bought in core at Unity, it's about 30 to 35. And it's about how big is your core, right? And I really think that when your core doesn't change, you don't change that head coach doesn't change, right? Your staff doesn't change a lot. What's expected is not changing all the time. I think that's when a core can grow, right? And I think you got to celebrate that. Like, man, I celebrate. We went from 7 to 9. We got to celebrate all those little victories. All right, I've talked for a long time. I'll shut up for a minute.
No, it's a podcast. The guest has to talk. It's not about me, about you guys. You guys are all big time. Every guest is big time.
Yeah. I'm the big time. Heyworth, Illinois. Look us up.
I had to. I was like, where's Heyworth? Because I've heard of it. I just didn't know where it was. Like, that's my problem. Because I'm too busy. My brain is like a garage. You got boxes, you put them away. Up here in the suburbs, I had to learn where things are in the suburbs. I'm replacing boxes. And like, if I ever visit home, which is like twice a month or twice a year, I have to remember even where to go sometimes. Like I drive to Danville or Champaign. I'm like, wait, where? Oh, yeah.
Where am I?
Especially the construction in Champaign is stupid. Just stupid. You know, I had to look it up. But I never thought of just same all the time. But they win. That makes sense. They just win all the time. Unity to just
on repeat. Sometimes you can't even figure out why they're winning. But they just keep winning. You know, I watched my son's team last year and I show up to that playoff game and, you know, it was literally ran nothing but power and counter and a quick perimeter screen, 3 things. You know, they kick butt, next team in, kick their butt, next team in, supposed to whip them, kick their butt. And they're doing nothing. They're doing nothing special, right? My son's the middle linebacker. I'm asking, what's your key? What are you doing? I watch him the entire game, right? Because that's what you do as a dad. You watch your boy and you're excited for him. It's just the same. It's the same darn thing every day, every single game,
right.
Yeah. No special blitzes. It's just like they blitz once or twice a drive and they just bring 6. It's not, it's just go. I'm telling you, after 2 years there, I was just sold. I'm like, it is about sameness, man. And they got a staff that's been together forever.
Right. I think the biggest change he probably ever did was just being under center to pistol. That was probably the biggest change.
Yep, which he did maybe some 10 years ago.
Because I went and watched the playoff game in high school, and they lost by like a point or two.
Mm-hmm.
Then I remember, I think the next year I saw them again, and they were in or maybe I was after high school. I got out of high school, and they went to pistol. And I remember coaches talked about like, oh my God, they're in pistol. I'm like, I think that's the only change they did, guys, though. I think they just stepped them back 4 yards. Like, that's the only thing they did different. Everything's still the same.
Yep.
And I'll never forget, they lost, and the town was so mad. I felt so bad for coach. They were throwing stuff to the coach and staff. And I was just like, I was a junior in high school or something. I was like, we got to go because these fans are mad. And I cannot for the life of me remember who they lost to, but that's here or there. I just went and watched them because they ran option stuff, and Coach Darren was like, yeah, go watch Unity. They're the best at it. Go watch what they do. And we went and watched. And then they went to pistol, and it was just this groundbreaking thing of like, oh my God, they're a pistol team now. And I'm like, that they still run all their stuff. It doesn't matter. You may not see this, but we're seeing this. Is this damn specializing in sports. I saw it in Charleston a little bit. And then I came up here, and it's almost even more. And at Addison, that's what we're fighting is big time of, we're not going to play football. We're going to specialize in baseball. We're going to specialize in basketball. We lost 2 or 3 kids to say we are just going to play basketball. And I don't know if you're battling that at your school because it's a smaller school, but your time at Champaign Central and this and that, did you ever start to see that? Like, we're going to just specialize in one. And the problems with that, I don't know if you've seen it down there as much as we have or not.
Yes, we've seen it tons. But in my opinion, and this is one thing that has changed in my perspective, all we can do as coaches is try to remind ourselves of our role. And our role, your role, serve Addison Trails School District.
Mm-hmm.
It's to serve, right? Like, we're in service industry. My role is to serve Heyworth.
Mm-hmm.
And I got 1 million kids that it just crushes my heart. And that's the hard thing, because you pour yourself into it and you love it so much. And you know that with these 3 kids that are refusing to play, your whole program would change.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You know, everyone's in the same boat. Everyone, at least in Illinois. I don't know other states. Everyone's in the same boat. Kids are specializing. It's easy to specialize. Parents, it's as much on the parents as it is the kids. But it is what it is. And at the end of the day, we've got to create, and this, I've just been big on this lately. We've got to make sure that we can do this for a long time. Because like before you and I started recording, you were saying how it took you guys forever to fill your coaching staff, right? Coaches are hard to find. If you look online, right, you and I are on Twitter a lot, you're going to see a lot of guys, you're going to hear about guys that are getting out of it, getting out. Maybe you get out because your kids are little. Maybe you get out, who knows why. And I think that we need to actively battle against reasons to get out and how to stay in. And one of the things that battles against reasons to get out, when we sit and talk about why kids aren't playing, it bums me and you out.
Right.
So I ain't talking about it. Let's talk about those kids that are playing. We're going to pour into those kids. And you know what? You got them. I got them. And my enemies have them. They all got kids in their school that are sitting out. So every time I sit about and think about my kids that are sitting out, because I got them and it crushes my soul, I'm just like, you know what? The dude I'm playing first, they got 2 dudes that ain't playing for them either. So It is what it is. I'm just here because I want to do this for a long time. So I'm 65. And if I sit around and think about those kids that won't play, it makes me want to only coach till I'm 45, which is 1 year away. So I want to coach till I'm 65. So let's go next question.
That was the most professional answer I've ever heard in my life.
Good.
Probably because I went on a big rant with a coach this morning and we talked about it, but his perspective is different because he's a college coach. So their perspective is different.
It is different. Yeah, totally different.
So that was a professional answer. Now, when we stop recording, you can tell me your real answer.
That's my answer. I want to coach till I'm old. And the only way I can coach till I'm old is to think about the reasons I love coaching.
No, it's true. Like, this is the first year where kids were like, where I'm going to specialize. And instead of me actually getting mad, I said, oh, cool. What's the sport you're going to play? Baseball. Cool. how's your travel season going? Because I will see them when I'm walking around outside. I'll see them when I walk in the hallway. Kids told us we're going to play football back in January. Now, when I saw them, I didn't ignore them. I said, hey, so-and-so, how's it going? Like, how's whatever sport they're in at that time going? I think that's different. I mean, when I was younger, I might be like, you're dead to me. Like, you're not playing the sport I coach.
Yeah.
Now, the older I've gotten, it's no. I feel it's more like I want you to do multiple sports. So I get more mad about that. Not just football, but it's like, I want you to do multiple because it helps you get recruited. But they don't understand that. That's their decision. That's their parents' decision. Move on. Head freshman basketball coach this year for me in the summer. I went up and I told kids, hey, if this is the only sport you play, come talk to me. I want to promote other things in the school. If you choose not to, whatever. And so some kids said, oh, you want us to play football? And I said, honestly, yes, I do, because I'm biased. I said, but if you want to go play volleyball, like boys volleyball, I'll point you in the right direction. You want to play baseball, I'll point you in the right direction. You want to wrestle? Cool. And you choose not to play basketball anymore. You're like, I don't like basketball anymore. I will point you in the right direction. Some coaches out there don't do that. You know, they're all about what they do. They don't care. And you being athletic director might see that. Like, nope, we have to get all sports on the same page. Like you said, when all sports are going well, like Neuqua Valley basketball, where I coached at, every sport except for like 2 or 3 won regionals this year. Every one of them. And that school is just buzzing right now. Just buzzing. And Naperville's huge. It has 3 high schools in it. But like that school is buzzing. So it does a lot. So your professional answer was perfect. Is what I'm trying to say.
I'm glad I could have had a perfect
that's a little nugget though. Young coaches could hear that and say, that's true. Why am I like getting all mad? Because I did when I was at Charleston. I got mad. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
And then up here now, I'm like, 1, I don't have time to get mad about that. Like no time. 2, they're still playing a sport for the school. So
yeah.
You know. But yeah, when I was in Charleston, man, don't get me started.
Career coaches, man. That's what I'm all about right now. Career coaches. If you're going, whatever your job is right now is football. If you couldn't do that with little kids in your house, then I think you're doing too much.
Mm-hmm.
You're not setting yourself up for success. I really believe that the best thing for a school is a coach that stays for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if every coach in America has to stop when their kids are little, how many of us will have coaches at all? You know what I mean? So we've got to all set up systems that work when we got little kids, because we're all going to have little kids at some point. So our systems need to be set up so it works with little kids. Because if you don't set it up for it to work with little kids, great. You might have your 1 great year, your 2 great years, but you're not going to change a community like that.
Right.
That's my opinion.
My next step in my ventures is how to keep coaches coaching. And I don't know how. I can't control that, but it just stinks because, like I said, we lost 4 or 5. They moved on due to whatever reason. And then it used to be, and you know this probably better than me, you used to probably be able to replace a little bit. Like, didn't take as long to replace them. Now you can't find anybody. I have friends up here still that call me and they say, hey, do you know any coaches to come coach here? I'm like, no, I really don't. I don't know anybody, because either they're not in education, which to me doesn't matter. If they could coach, they can coach. If they can be there by 2 or 3 o'clock, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. But I said, I don't know about education. I don't know anybody that's actually coaching, or they want to be paid. And we all know how that works. Can't pay everybody. So I know some schools. My buddy just got a defense coordinator job 2 weeks ago. They hired a new coach late. He got a defense coordinator job. Just him, those 2 right now. In a school of 2,000 kids. Just them.
Wow. Just 2 guys.
Now he's talking about 3 guys they'll bring on, but they're in that spot too of like, they can't find anybody. And so it's a struggle. I don't know. You can figure that out for me. You help me figure out how to keep coaches in it, and we'll figure it out. I don't know how, but we'll figure it out. That's my next.
There is no one solution, man. And I think that's something where you need people around, and that's something that I feel responsible for. We all need to be advocating, or every community needs advocates for the coaches, right? And so sometimes there are things that might happen in my school that I'm like, really, I would let slide. I'm not going to worry about it. But then I sit back and I think, man, I'm the athletic director. If I don't advocate for our coaches in this spot, who's going to? right? Nobody's going to. So sometimes I catch myself asking for things I wouldn't have asked for. One of those things this summer was making sure that our coaches are getting paid over the summer, right, in the weight room for weight room supervision. And I normally, if I would have just come in as a head football coach, I wouldn't have asked at all. I wouldn't care. I'm going to be there. This is what I do.
Right.
But I'm like, I got to get our whole school, all of our coaches bought in the weight room. And I need to make sure they're paid. I need to make sure they're paid, not because only for the one reason that I want them to stay for a long time. Mm-hmm. And it's just easier to stay for a long time when it makes sense financially. And I don't think there's any shame in that. It is what it is. We do what makes sense, and what makes sense for us to keep doing something while our kids are small for it to make sense financially. So one of my big pushes around my school in the world of education, as I kind of get deeper into the world of being an athletic director, I mean, I'm going to continue to advocate for coaching stipends being larger, right? We've got to continue. I feel it's my role to push it. And I want to push it because just what I said earlier, it's basic supply and demand.
Right.
If you don't have enough, it means it doesn't pay enough. So we need to pay more, or we need to ask less for the same job. Right. So we got to figure out where we land in that. And if we're struggling to find coaches, it means we're not paying enough or we're asking too much of them. So we got to navigate that. It's not an easy solution in any way, shape, or form, because the whole world, our whole nation is losing their minds over youth sports. Mm-hmm. And so it's just going to be interesting. I think 50 years from now, probably, let's say 30 years from now, when I'm on my deathbed, I think everything's might even be unrecognizable from where I was. Here I am in my mid 40s, right? Like, I really think that things will keep changing and changing quickly because of how much we love athletics. It is what it is. Mm-hmm. We love athletics as Americans. So if we love athletics, I just don't think there's any shame in going out and paying yourself a staff of professional coaches that they're the best money can buy. What's it going to do? It's going to change your whole community. That's what it's going to do, right? It's going to change your whole community. Your test scores will go up. Everything will go up. Go out and hire yourself the best staff in your conference. What happens? You know, I could complete that sentence, but I think everybody knows what happens. Go get the best coaches and watch what happens to your community.
Right. Hey, you're just dropping wisdom left and right today. I'm so glad
I'm glad I could help.
You're just dropping nuggets and this wisdom that maybe you never had before. I don't know. Like, because for me, I don't know if you did this with the clinics you did. I almost football overdosed one time. And what I mean by that is I had too much information coming at me. Coaches have so many great things, and I was writing them down, and I was going back and listening, and then I was like, I had to stop looking at football and stop podcasting for a little because I was like, I've overdosed because I don't know what to do. And then you almost want to take everything you guys tell me and put it together. I'm like, you can't. You cannot take everything everybody tells you to do and put it into what you're doing. Yeah. You can tweak it and make it how you want, but you ultimately cannot. An example, this coach this morning, he told me how he told his uncovered rules and inside zone. He uses red, yellow, green. Green means you're blocking them. Yellow means you got to hold on a second. Red means linebacker's coming. And I said, I wish I would have talked to you 2 months ago because I would have used that. That's my problem. That is my problem. I hear something good, I want to use it. And then I'll go to the head coach and present. He goes, Steve, you can't use all of this. Mm-hmm. You have to take a step back. And I'm like, true. No, you're just dropping wisdom left and right. Now, don't tell me you ran wing T this year, coach. Come on.
Well, first of all, you know me and you know my priorities, right? I think it's the same for everybody. What do you value?
I just had to stir the pot. I had to stir it a little bit.
I value minimizing mistakes. I value that. And I value effort overall. So I do not care your hand placement. What I care is, are you giving 100%? So we value and we will reward. If you're falling over while blocking, we'll value it. I had a defensive coach say, well, if you just come at me with your shoulder, and he was new to my staff. He's like, I'll just get out of the way and move you. I said, dude, if you take a step back as a D lineman, how could what more could I ask for? if you take a step back, what more could I want as an offensive coach? So anyway, yeah, we're a wing T style team. We went double tight, double wing a year ago, only because I knew, again, 17 kids in the program.
Yeah.
We weren't even ready for wing T, in my opinion. I mean, it was double tight, double wing, foot to foot splits, minimize mistakes. We were 1-18, but did you know we put the ball on the ground 2 times all year?
Wow.
Right. See, well, I'm proud of that. We work our tails off at that.
That's good. You're not giving them the ball back. That's positives. Like, hey, we have the ball. We just have to finish it.
We worked hard at that, man. Like we're so we know what we value. We are excited about what we value, and we just try to stick with it, right? And I got that from Roger Van de Zan out of Missouri. He's a retired coach now. He's a double tight, double wing guy. But the word that he used was majors. He's like, major in your majors. Mm-hmm. And that always stuck with me. It's like, dude, I got to know what I major in, right? So if you came and said that somebody came to your practices, what do you value? What are those 3 things that are clearly more important to your program than the other things, right? Because those are the things that you've got to focus on. You're going to have to give something up in order to focus on those majors, right? So what are your majors? Now, for our program right now and for the future, because I'm in a small school, we've got 1 clear feeder. We've got 1 clear school district. I decided to go to the gun. So we are officially in the gun now for the first time in my career. I would not call it gun wing T. I don't really consider us spread, but I am happy that my town thinks we're spread. Yes. I'm happy that they think we are. But I guess what the best way I can explain it is the same way that I know how to attack, which is through a wing T system. It's been 10 years of studying it. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing, but we're in the gun, right? So I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah.
Ultimately, at the end of the day, if you can attack off tackle, outside, and something up the gut, and you can attack the perimeter and attack vertical, ultimately you're fine. I think your offense is great. Get good at it. Our offense can do those things. So technically it should be fine, right? And on years where we got super studs everywhere, we're going to be really good. And on years where we don't, we're going to try to protect the football and be average.
Yeah, you're not a spread team. You're just a team that lines up in shot.
Exactly.
Talk to the old offense coordinator at St. Xavier University up here, and we were talking. He's true spread, air raid, throw the ball.
Yeah.
And then one time I said, yeah, we are. And then sometimes we have a hand down tight end. And he goes, whoa. You're no longer spread. And I said, why? And he goes, because you're now adding an extra gap. You're no longer fully spreading them out. So I was like, so that caused a whole riff of conversations I had with coaches. What is actually a spread team? What determines that? People say you just line up and gun. I'm like, no, because teams that line up and do pistol, double wing stuff, that's not spread. They're just
It used to be easy because going gun used to just imply that you would be in 10 personnel. That was just imply.
Right.
And it's not like that anymore. Being in the gun, that you might still have 2 backs. You might still have a tight end. You might, right? So everything's changed, but we've kind of somehow that word spread became like the most powerful word in offensive football. But I don't know what we are. All I know is we take our snaps out of the gun, but we run all the same concepts that we used to.
Hey, and I'll tell you this. I put in double tight ends, H-backs. I'm doing all that as the run game guy. I'm going back, and I'm doing motions. I'm doing wing motions. Maybe there might be some option this year, Coach. I think we're going.
That's what's fun about offense, though, man. I mean, it's fun just to kind of draw up a scheme and watch it work, so have fun with it. I hope you're having fun with it. But don't forget the Scott Hamilton philosophy.
Same. Well, Coach, I took a lot of your time. I know you got family. I can hear him sometimes. I'm like, he's got a family, Steve. You're taking all of his time. Are you going to get the YouTube channel back up? I was talking to somebody about that. Like, I love the culture stuff you did on your old YouTube. Like when you were at Milford, there's a video out there of the old Milford weight room, I think, somewhere out there.
There is.
If I remember correctly.
There is, man.
You got to do that with Heyworth. You got to show that.
Yeah, I don't know. I got to the point where I really got sick of listening to myself. So that is what has made me stop making like my own videos. I'm just kind of sick of myself. And when I have time to produce, I just try to produce stuff that other coaches are doing. That's kind of what, now I still have a rule for myself. Like if you ever I feel like the biggest compliment is for one man to invite you to say something and he's going to sit and listen to you. I'm like, no greater compliment could be paid. So the only way I end up on camera now is when somebody invites me for something like this, and I will never turn it down. Because if for people to actually sit down and listen to you, right? That's valuable, right? You get 5 guys together at a bar, you have to fight for your 10 seconds to speak, right?
Right.
You got to fight for that. Sometimes you got to talk really loud to get your 10 seconds to speak.
Right.
So when these things come around and someone invites you and someone's going to sit and listen, man, always take that opportunity because it's an honor. So yeah, I don't know. I'm sure I know who I am. And that's that. I love talking. I love sharing. I love coaching. So the odds are, yeah, eventually you'll see me producing some stuff again. But right now I'm trying to do a really good job coaching an AD and just keep Chiefpigskin alive. Like that's the part. Just keep it alive. I don't need it to be awesome right now. It's just got to stay alive.
Well, you got the barbecue thing coming up. Those are always fun.
Reached out to Cody and I said, Cody, we need some content for this summer, dude. Why don't you do some grilling videos? He's all about it.
He is. He's supposed to come on here and we just can never get it done. We can just never get the timing down. Dude,
yeah, get him on. Cody Gardner can talk, man. I feel like I'm a talker. Dude, he puts me to shame. You won't get a word in edgewise, but he is full of wisdom. And another Central Illinois guy, man. Central Illinois roots. And now I feel like he's past us all, man. He's a D coordinator at the most successful high school in Utah.
Yeah, he did what he tweeted like a month ago. First time turning on the AC since I moved to Utah, and I'm like, oh, that must be so nice. Like you're never hot.
It is a different life out there.
And then I gave a shout out to smaller schools. Rochester came up to that Bears 7-on-7, and when I saw them walking in, I looked at every team around us. I said, they're winning this whole thing. And by God, they won the whole thing. And they said, where's that? They didn't even know where they were from. Schools up there had no idea where Rochester was. And
where was this thing?
We were at Fenton High School in Bensonville.
Okay.
It's like 10 minutes from Addison. It's probably like 15 minutes or so north of like Elmhurst.
Yeah.
And he had 16 teams there, I think. So you had it was Wednesday, Thursday. So 6 7-on-7 games, lineman challenges. They had 3 one day and then 3 the next day. You got Bears stuff, like you got the sideline gear that the Bears actually wear during the season, all that cool stuff. But I didn't know who was going to be there. I'm the line coach. I'm like, I'm just worried about the competition.
Yeah.
I saw them walking up and I was like, I went to our head coach. I was like, is Rochester supposed to be here? And he goes, yeah. Because he used to coach at Mattoon for like 2 years. So he kind of has understanding.
Okay.
He goes, oh yeah, they're coming. And I started laughing and I looked at our coaches. I said, they're winning the whole thing. And I went to another coach that I knew up there. I was like, they're winning the whole thing. And they said, what? How do you know that? And I was like, because I know what Derek and Steve do. I'm like, I understand it. What do you mean? I was like, that's probably the best offensive-minded coach in the state of Illinois walking through down right now.
Best. They're the best. I keep waiting for the Illini to hire him as the OC. I'm like, what are we waiting for? What are we waiting for? He's won 9 state titles in 12 years.
Yeah.
What are we waiting for? He's clearly gifted. Give the guy the OC job. I'm sick of watching the Illini hire someone else. And you know what? Their OC probably is great right now. I'm sure he's great. Just give the job to Leonard because you know what? Someone else is going to hire him eventually. Mm-hmm. And he's just going to come back to Illinois and beat our ass. So Can we just give him the job already? I think he's had college offers as like a quarterback coach or as a this or that. And he'd be excellent at anything. But the reality is he just understands at a really high level, it is what it is, how to move the ball. Give him the OC job. I'm waiting for it to happen. Let's go, Illini. So Bielema, when you watch this, just go get Leonard. Just go get him. Let's get this over with. And we can let the Illini sail to the top.
Absolutely. He and Steve. Steve's a great defensive mind. I know him from.
Yeah, and I don't know Steve, but defensively, they're doing incredible things.
And I'm going to tell you this right now. Their O-line is huge. And I went up and talked to Steve first. He's friends with the head coach I worked for at Charleston, Coach Hogan. So they know each other. I went up to him and he goes, this is the biggest offensive line we've ever had.
Oh, geez.
So he's like, stuff's going to change in this offense. And I saw their quarterback. Their quarterback is a monster. He looks like a defensive lineman. Like, I watched them. Jeez. And I'm like, and like schools up here that have 2,300 kids, I said, that school of 800 kids right there, about to kick your ass. And I said, those old linemen are huge. They're going to compete with you city schools that showed up to this. I'm like,
yeah.
I just wanted to let you know, I want to give a shout out to like the small Central Illinoisans. Like, I knew when they walked in. And nobody believed me. They all looked at me like I was dumb. And then one school played them and lost by like 2 touchdowns or something. They came on, they go, pretty good. I was like,
dude,
that's just 7-on-7. Wait till they're full padded.
They're for real. They're for real. I went through my 2-3 years, which I think every coach does. I think some coaches have held on it for longer than I did, where I was just jealous of Derek. Mm-hmm. And I was like, he's just winning and I'd name the 3 reasons why. And then after about 3 or 4 years, I was like, nope, he's pretty special. Yeah. So I've been over that jealousy for a long time. And now I just watch and admire. It's incredible.
Yeah. I was jealous like the first, probably like you said, 2 or 3 in a row.
Yeah.
Because when I got to Charleston, I kept hearing about how they beat Charleston in the Final Four. And so Charleston and I don't know if you want to call them that, hate Rochester. And I'm like, why? I've had conversations with Derek and stole things. I've had conversations with Steve on defense and stole it. I'm like, why? Like after their first 3, I think the first 3, after that I was like, no, there's a reason. You can have talent, but to do it 5 in a row, like, yeah, that's special. And then when they moved them up, when they were still 4A, IC up here, got moved to 4A that year, I went and scouted IC for them just in case. Like, that's how the connection we had for me. And like, I was like, I'll scout them for you guys. And then they lost to McNamara, at Kankakee. Mm-hmm. Then they took that year off, won 2 in a row, took a year off, and then we all know how it goes. And they might be 5A again this year talking to them. They might move them back up.
Yeah. Oh, it doesn't matter.
It don't matter.
They're the best.
Anyway, Coach, you'll get there. You'll get Heyworth there.
Hey, let's hope so. I got
your spread team now. You'll get.
Well, hey, now that I've gone gun, then for sure we'll do it.
No, Coach, I appreciate it. I got a lot of nugget wisdom out of you.
Awesome.
And that's the whole point. Somebody will listen to it and get something out of it. And that's all that matters.
Well, I'm glad I could help. I appreciate you having me on, Steve.
I appreciate it, guys. Still go check out Chiefpigskin. Go check all that out. It's still there, guys. He's still got it. It's still there.
It's still running. A lot of good stuff. I use it literally weekly. I'm like, I remember that video. Look it up. Into the practice plan.
Yeah. That's the big thing is practice planning too. I have to watch videos on that too, like drills, practice planning. Mm-hmm. I go back. But anybody listening, go check all that out. It's good stuff. Coach, thank you again. And we'll see you guys on the next episode. Maybe I'll get Coach Albaugh back next summer. We'll see.
There you go. We'll just make it a yearly thing.
There we go.